of my mouth, the meditations of all our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Here we are, the sixth day of Christmas, and a friend pointed out to me that they were at the mall yesterday, and what didn't they see or hear? Christmas carols, not to be heard, and no Christmas decorations really around anymore. It's amazing how the rest of the world seems to have lost the fact that Christmas is still going. Of course, it's a little strange today that our gospel reading doesn't tell us much about Christmas as we would understand it. There's no baby Jesus, no wonderful manger. Kings are showing up next week. That's why they went from that corner over there to that corner over there. And we luck out that Epiphany shows up on a Sunday so that they can actually make it to the manger before we tear down the whole thing. And if you really want some cognitive dissonance, last night at our Saturday night service, which was at the Lutheran Church, he didn't know that we were using this gospel. And I got to read about Jesus being lost in the temple at the age of 12. And I was, wait a minute. It's all over the place. But the thing, of course, why always the first Sunday after Christmas do we hear the Gospel of John? Why not bring the Kings a little closer? And it's because for a moment we need to pause and reflect about what Christmas is. The incarnation in its fullest. John doesn't care about babies and mangers. He does care a lot about the Word becoming flesh. And that, of course, is important for us. We need the incarnation to get the rest of the story. The atonement, the resurrection, all flow out of the incarnation. Word becoming flesh. Babies, grown-ups, all of it. The story makes sense to us and we connect with it because of the humanness of Christ. But I think it's also interesting that here we are 2 days from the end of the year, and I love the way the Gospel of John begins. In the beginning. Think about it, throughout every chapter of your life, it's always in the beginning, isn't it? Well, there's, of course, that in the beginning that you really don't remember except you've seen maybe some photos. You probably can remember the in the beginning of going to school for the first time. Maybe there's an in the beginning of leaving home for the first time. And in the beginning of perhaps getting married, having kids leaving, retiring. All those in the beginnings, new chapters. And isn't that what we all sort of think about as the one year comes to a close and another year begins? When you look back on 2012, was it a good year for you, or a year that you just as soon see end? Are you looking forward to a new in the beginning for 2013? What are your hopes and fears for the coming year? What is it exactly that we seek? And where will we find God in the midst of our day-to-day lives? The gospel today ends with that no one has ever seen God. Anybody in here ever seen God? How many of you have experienced God, though not in a physical form? I've had that happen. And it's almost, sometimes, of course, it's not as obvious as a burning bush or a clap of thunder, but it's always very small, isn't it? A little thing that just seems to be what you needed right at that moment. That little piece of reminder that says, hi, I'm over here. Come on back. Let's walk together a little further. Let's see how we can reveal my light and my love to the world that you encounter. When I think about that, that's quite a challenge. That's what I'm looking forward to the most, perhaps, in 2013. Sure, I'm looking forward to number 1 graduating, saying, see ya. Good luck. No, I'm not that harsh. And I'll probably cry. But I do know this, that I'm going to look for ways that the light and love of Jesus Christ that I experience on a day-to-day basis can be something that I can find ways to share, whether through word, but more especially through action, through times of showing that the light is still shining in a world where everybody else wants to say everything looks bleak. To me, in the beginning is not only a January 1st occurrence, it's not only in the chapters of life that we have, but an in the beginning is every time I wake up, my feet hit the floor. It's an in the beginning moment. Will I live most fully into that moment? Will I, as often as possible, reveal the light of Christ? Will I believe, in fact, that the Word is still being made flesh and still dwelling among us? Amen.